Hello and welcome back everyone. So, in the first video of this little collection, I went over some modifications that I feel go a long way towards fixing and improving the game of Malifaux. Most of those rules only affect the gameplay, but a few of them affect the models themselves. And that's what these additional videos are for, to see how those modifications affect models from the different factions. So in this particular video, I will be looking at 4 keywords from Neverborn. But one of the rule suggestions that I did make is the elimination of factions. So technically these are each individual master and their keyword is their own separate thing. Now, I should mention that none of this is play tested. A lot of the costs and things are based off of 3rd edition version of these models, but a lot of it is just eyeballed. So it may require a little tweaking here and there, but hopefully it is somewhat balanced. So the 4 keywords that have been chosen. Oh, so I'm not going to go through the entire line of miniatures. I'm only sticking to the ones that I know the best, and ones that I want to continue playing if I decide to continue playing Malifaux. So the 4 keywords that I'm going to be doing for Neverborn are Marcus and his Chimera, who used to be Arcanist, but are now, well, used to be Arcanist, then they were both Arcanist and Neverborn, and now they're just Neverborn. But again, faction doesn't matter. Titania and the Fae, the Dreamer and Nightmare, and Pandora and the Woes. So we'll kick things off with former Arcanist, newly Neverborn Marcus. Fortunately, this one was a bit of an easier one to do. Marcus himself, or the 2 different versions of Marcus, and his crew cards are both fine as they are. Oh, yeah, whatever. They don't really do any summoning or anything like that. They don't mess with summon tokens, so they're fine. Now, as for the totems. The Razor Spine Rattler used to be an actual model, and the Jackalope is something that can be turned into a regular model. I don't know why the Razor Spine Rattler was chosen as the totem. If anything, I would have thought that the Saber-Tooth Cerberus would have been chosen as the totem. It kind of fits better as a pet cat, I guess? I don't know. But, yeah, for some reason they just decided to make the Rattler the totem. Which is a little bit weird, but okay. Both of these are fairly easy transfers. Oh, okay, so all the totems come with an ability where you can spend a soul stone in order to draw cards. There's a couple of different ones, the main ones being Tap the Ley Line and Resupply. Now, rather than have them as abilities on the models, especially because these totems will no longer be mandatory takes, I did mention in the first video how I was going to turn these into just a general rule. So for all the totems, these card draw abilities have been removed. But other than that, the Razor Spine Rattler kept its health of 9 and was just given a cost of 7. It's a pretty decent model, but it's not a particularly strong one. In particular, it doesn't really have any huge attacks. So, I mean... And I mean, the terrifying ability has kind of been nerfed into near uselessness. So, I mean, it's still okay giving a negative the attack, but negatives on flips aren't really that big of a deal anymore. So, I mean, meh. So, yeah, kind of a lackluster, unfortunately. So, cost of 7 for 9 health. Which normally, the cost of a model should be like 1 or 2 less than the health of the model. There are some exceptions, especially models with extremely high health. I guess 1 to 3 lower than the health. But yeah, so Razor Spine Rattler. And again, these costs are also kind of based off of their 3rd edition versions, which the Razor Spine Rattler has. Or earlier versions, for example, for the Jackalope, when totems did actually have a cost. So Razor Spine Rattler 7, Jackalope cost of 4, reduces health to 5. Um, but otherwise, yeah, very quick and simple. Um, the other thing that needs to be taken a look at is Miranda. Miranda has this weird thing where yeah, when she dies, she can swap out for another Chimera model who gets the bestial form upgrade that allows them to turn back into Miranda. And she just kind of shifts back and forth. Now, normally I don't mind shape-shifting abilities. Take a look at that with Ferdinand. But this is a bonkers way of doing it. You're basically just killing Miranda to summon in a new thing that summons back in Miranda, that summons back in another thing, so on and so forth. You can just chain... I mean, you can only ever have one of them at a given time, but it just constantly adds a new model every single time. It's weird. It's a terrible, terrible ability. I mean, it's strong, it's massively unbalanced. It's disgusting that this model even has this kind of thing, but yeah, so just so yeah, the quickest and easiest way is to just get rid of it. But this is a 10 soulstone model. It does a lot. But I was thinking that a decent replacement would be oh, whoops, hang on. This is supposed to go in Chimera. But yeah, a decent replacement would be to replace it with Accomplice. It's something that this version of Marcus has at the very least. So it is kind of a thing that exists, even if no one else has it, but I haven't really seen Accomplice all that much. It seems to have been removed from the game quite a bit. Marcus is the only one that I've really seen so far, and all the keywords that I've done that has it. And Miranda did have it back in 3rd edition. So, quickest and easiest solution, just get rid of Demise. However, if you're wanting to, you can replace it with this Accomplice. And keep her at cost 10. And then, of course, because this is no longer a thing, the bestial form upgrade, just rip it up, throw it in the garbage. You're not going to need it anymore. And that... Oh, and Ferdinand. So Ferdinand is how you do swap models properly. um, I get what they were trying to do with Miranda, just give her a shapeshift that can allow her to turn into other things, but that kind of shapeshifting is already kind of covered by Marcus's mutation upgrades, which, by the way, are all totally fine. Mutation upgrades are totally okay. So yeah, just use the mutation upgrades, and yeah, like there are already things in play that do that. So this whole demise thing is the bad way of doing it. Ferdinand Vogel, however, even though he's limited to only shifting back and forth between these two forms, this is how you do shapeshifting. They're both the same cost. You can only have one of them out at any given time. They don't die and swap out into the other one. You're supposed to just take the original card and put in the new one. So you're still playing the same model. It's just it's a bit more versatile because you can swap it between two different sets of stats. So yeah, I think that this is the fine way of doing it. This is the bad way of doing it. So Ferdinand is totally okay. And again, because factions are no longer a thing, um, Ferdinand now is just a Chimera model. But yeah, that's about it for them. Everything else in the keyword is fine. So, next up is Titania and the Fae. And yes, it is Titania, not Titania. I don't know why people call it Titania. It is Titania. But anyway. um, the two master cards and the crew upgrade crew cards. Ugh, what the hell am I talking about? Anyway, they're all fine. They're all totally okay as they are. The totems did require a little bit of tweaking. So the Aramanthian boar used to be its own model. It was meant to be a very tanky one. So kept its health, gave it a cost of 7. It's another one where I'm not entirely sure if it should be an 8. It does some okay stuff, but I don't know if it's necessarily strong enough to be an 8. Maybe if this ability is added. Which, again, the Aramanthian boar was meant to be tanky. Giving it resilient just makes it a little bit more so. So I think it should have it. But I don't know if it should be cost 7 or 8. It's another one of those things where, again, it doesn't have a particularly strong attack. It has only a willpower of 4. I mean, it's meant to stick around for a while, but otherwise it kind of doesn't really do that much. Card draw is nice. But yeah, anyway. Cost of 7. Again, maybe like a high 7, maybe a low 8. I don't know. The Gorar. This was a bit more of an issue. So most of it is actually fine. This regrowth thing is kind of cool. Keeps it in play for a bit. Didn't change the health. The health is 6. The reason why I only gave it a cost of 4 um, is because the defense and willpower are low. And the main reason for its existence is this mold the other. You're not really using it for its spectacular attacks. Although I mean, injured and adversary are actually pretty decent. um, but yeah, this more to the other that you're really wanting the Gurur for. Now, I had some real difficulty trying to figure out what the hell to do with this, because this is just a summon. But oddly enough, it only summons a model that was killed during the game. So it's just bringing back something that was already in the crew. But the thing is that doesn't matter. If the model existed in the crew and it died, then it kind of served its purpose. And this is just summoning a new one of that. So even though you paid for the original model, this is a new version of it, and you should have to pay for the second version. It would be like taking one Autumn Knight compared to two. Yes, they're both Autumn Knights, but they're two separate models, and you pay for them separately. So anyway. And then Ouroboros is just the bullshit thing about removing the summon token, doesn't gain slow, which again, you can't remove summon tokens, because according to the rules, they can't be removed in any way whatsoever. So this doesn't actually work. Right, and it does the whole cycle thing, where you replace this model with the summon, and then you can summon in a Gorar, which just allows you to summon and summon and summon and summon. So anyway, this, I wanted to get rid of it, but like I said, it means that the Gorar doesn't really do anything. Oops. I mean, I guess you could just remove this and reduce its cost to like 3 or even 2. Maybe they're gaming equivalent, so I guess you could probably just have it as a cost 3 model, but anyway. I was thinking of just getting rid of the Gorar completely, but it is a cool model. I like how it's like the snake wrapped around the egg. And I do like the gimmick of it doing the whole Ouroboros thing, where it dies and something else is brought in, and then that thing dies and brings in the Gorar, and so on and so forth. But trying to avoid the whole summoning BS. So one of the things I thought as a good replacement would be to have it as a model that swaps places with other models. So it does the whole Ouroboros thing, but rather than summoning in models that have died, it just swaps places with models that are still in the game. That way the Gorar can be used to either throw models into a combat, to trade partners with other models, or to get models out of danger. Which makes it a lot more useful. So this is fine. Yeah, I would definitely suggest, rather than just deleting it, to replace it with something like this. I think there are other models that do this, which is probably where I got this from. I did make it a Soulstone ability for some reason. I might get rid of that, but... Get the target number, and it's literally just swap this model with an ally. So yeah, this would be the only real reason to keep the Gorar in. As far as everything else goes for Fae, there is not really anything that needs to be modified. Everything else is fine, as is. So next up is Dreamer and the Nightmare keyword. This is one of the bigger ones. It's always had a lot, because Dreamer has always been one of the primary summoners. Which it still kind of is, but oddly enough, I think not as much anymore. So this one requires a bit more taking a look at. Well, to a certain extent. Anyway, so two different versions, Insomniac and Fast Asleep. Main difference is that one of them is supposed to be a bit more combat-y, and the other one is the summoner. So one of them needed a bit more of a rework than the other, but they still both needed to be looked at. So we've got Dreamer Fast Asleep, who has two different summons. There's Twist Reality, which is actually worth keeping. Just get rid of the bit that summons daydreams. The rest of it is fine. The thing that gives a fright token, especially the thing that reveals the enemy's control hand, like, those are okay. Just get rid of the summon part. And then Night Stalker that summons a friendly Lord Chompy Bits, get rid of that. Since it's a trigger, since it's not affecting any of the actions, it's fine to just remove, and that's okay. Those are good. Insomniac, however, is a bit more of an issue. So again, this is the... Right, so Fast Asleep is the more combat version one. Insomniac is meant to lean more heavily into the summons. The main thing is that it summons models in and then kills them in order to drop scheme markers. Well, you can't really do that. So I figured, get rid of this. Now, I don't know, I kind of figured it... I don't know, I kind of figured that it was worth getting rid of this, but it might actually be worth keeping this in. It's a nice little, if you absolutely need to, you can kill a target to drop a scheme marker. Now, you're not going to be able to just automatically resummon the thing back into the game, but it can still be a strategic choice to be able to do this. So actually, yeah, maybe it is worth keeping that in just to give that option. It's not something you have to do, but it's something that you have a bit of control over because there's the built-in crow there. So yeah, again, if it's a nice little gotcha where your opponent might not be expecting you to be able to score a victory point, and then all of a sudden you sacrifice one of your own models to drop a scheme marker, which scores you a victory point. So it could be a worthwhile trade-off. I wouldn't use it on anything big and scary, but just popping Daydreams or Alps or something for scheme markers, even if you can't get them back, I think is okay. Which kind of pairs nicely with the replacement idea that I had for Manifest Nightmare. Turning Insomniac Dreamer into a very schemy, like Draw Out Secrets is also one that makes scheme markers. So the Insomniac Dreamer becomes a very scheme-heavy master, which I think is fine. I mean, it kind of already is. I'm just adding another way of being able to add scheme markers. Yes, the Manifest Nightmare is the primary summon. It allows the Dreamer to summon in any Nightmare model. Although I guess it only works with minions? Yeah, because none of the uniques have a target number for summoning. So yeah, I guess it is just minions. But still, I mean, out of all of the summoning things, this one that gives the flicker token is probably the most okay, but I still don't like the idea of summoning in a model even if it is only for the one turn. So flicker tokens, which one is it? This one. Flicker token is at the end during the end phase, kill this model. And again, this says this token cannot be removed. So the summon only exists until the end of the turn. So it's not as bad as a normal summon. I mean, if anything, I think that summon should just do the flicker thing by default. But again, it is still a summon. You're still adding shit to the board that shouldn't be there. So I still think that this is worth getting rid of. And yeah, the trigger summons a Daydream with flicker as well. So yeah, Manifest Nightmare, get rid of this. Because it is getting rid of one of the Dreamer's abilities, and all of the masters in the game seem to have at least 3 abilities, one of which is typically a signature. It means that you can't just get rid of this, because it only leaves the Dreamer with 2 abilities left. So this needs a replacement. The only thing I could really think of is this, which Waking Nightmare was an ability from 3rd edition. It's been modified heavily, but it is a thing that's being ported over. Which is literally just discard a card, target an ally, make a ski marker within 1 inch of the target. Simple, straightforward. It's totally fine. So you have the attack that, as long as you have a tome, can drop a ski marker. So it's not the most reliable, but it is an option if you're wanting to go more offense. But that's not what this Dreamer is about. You have a couple of ally-only tacticals. One where you can kill the target to make a scheme marker, and one that just makes a scheme marker but doesn't do anything else. So a couple of different options. Very scheme heavy. I think it's fine. The crew cards. I think are both fine. Oh, okay, so yeah, the Anerophobia does kill the target, which again is okay to leave as is. It's another... It makes Insomniac Dreamer very... sacrifice your own crew to do things, kind of, which means you have to be very careful about how to use these abilities. Because if you kill too much of your own stuff, you can end up, especially early on, you can end up putting yourself in a very bad position. So it makes Insomniac very late game, where you move your models into positions in the first couple of turns, and then you just start killing things off in order to do stuff. Now, this one's a bit worse because the benefit you get from it is not the greatest. I would almost get rid of the kill the target. Get rid of kill the target, maybe not make it a signature action. In fact, I would almost make this a kill the target. I woke up before woke up before I hit the ground. Hmm. Yeah. I remember this is one I had a bit of a problem with. I wasn't quite able to figure out what to do with this. But I think, yeah. So let's go with... I'd get rid of kill the target. and make a normal action. I feel as though that would probably be the best way of doing it. And then the heal. I think the kill the target should be on the heal. So yeah, I think it should be that way around. Alright, otherwise, everything else on the crew cards and for the masters are fine. Now, the totem is an interesting thing, because the Dreamer just has two different versions of Lord Chompy Bits. There's no real need to have two different versions of Lord Chompy Bits, so I kind of just merged them together. I also beefed them up a little bit. So I increased their... well, hang on. Alright, I increased their costs... Or sorry, the health to 9. Gave them a cost of 8. Made them a henchman, which they were in every other version of this game. Use the Demise, Terrifying, Monster Under the Bed, and Monster in the Dark. So basically, all of the front of card stuff gets combined together. Since they both have the same Demise, that's fine. Let's just use one of those. But otherwise, Monster Under the Bed, Monster in the Dark, and Terrifying all get used. Oh, I would say use Lurking Lullaby stats of 6/6. Yeah, use those. So defense 6, willpower 6. And for the actions, use the Heavy Claws from Dreamlord, Fear Made Flesh from Lurking Lullaby, Dream Chaser from Dreamlord, and Nightmare's Mark from Lullaby. That gets rid of Twist Reality, which is the summon Daydream bullshit. So that is just pretend that doesn't exist. And yeah, he didn't need two different melee attacks. And Heavy Claws are more fun than Dream Eater. So yeah, that is how I would suggest combining the two Lord Chompy Bits together. Because of how scary it is, did make it cost of 8 for the health of 9. I mean, I would almost bump that up to a cost of 9 for health of 9. The Lord Chompy Bits that this makes is quite scary. But anyway. As for the rest of the crew, pretty much everything else is fine. Except for Daydreams. So Daydreams are the summon garbage peons. They literally just exist to turn into ski markers, pretty much. I mean, the bend reality is kind of cool. otherwise, yeah. So the daydreams did exist as a proper model in the older versions. Turning them back into is relatively quick and simple. Just turn them into minion rather than peon, give them a cost of 3 and a health of 4. I don't really think they're worth more than that. It does keep the demise to turn them into scheme markers. So interestingly enough, there's no way for the daydream to kill itself, so the demise is reliant on your enemy doing this. So it's a bit of a deterrent. They're not going to be attacking. Um, so the main thing that the daydream does is move other nightmare models around, which is kind of what they were for in the last edition. They just kind of tagged along and pushed other models around, basically. So I mean, yeah, even the cost of 3 might be a little high for them, but I mean, other than the peons, there's not really much that has a cost of 2. So I would keep it at 3. And yeah, they're basically just gammon level models. They do a thing, they don't really do much, but they're just something cheap to add into your crew. But otherwise, everything else in Nightmare is fine. Which brings us to Pandora and the Woes. So for the most part, the 2 different versions of Pandora and their crew cards are fine. However, Tyrant Torn has a thing. So yes, Anadonia that summons Woes and gives an or negligent token. So this can just be removed entirely. It still gives Pandora 3 actions, one of which is a signature. So she doesn't really need this as a summon or as a replacement. However, it would remove the or a negligent thing. So one way of being able to do it is simply put this, the or a negligent token, into the main ability. In fact, you can even keep the enemy only once per activation. I don't know if the aura works on... Yeah, there's no real reason to keep it on a friendly model. Well, I guess it doesn't matter what type of model it's on. Enemy is from the token's point of view, not who the token's on. So I guess this could go onto friendly models. But yeah, I think because the base ability says enemy only, it might be worth keeping this as an enemy only thing. Because this takes the conditions of the first one. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking that... this should be... Enemy only. Oops. And once per activation. And then just give it target number of 5 because it needed a target number. And I guess it doesn't. Although, because the summon has a target number, there's a chance that this could fail. So I think, yeah, this should have a target number. And woe minions are cost 4, 5, and 6. So I just took the average of 5, gave it a target number of 5. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way of doing it. But otherwise, the masters are fine as they are. I just needed that one summon to be gotten rid of, but otherwise, everything else is good. So, the two totems are Poltergeist and Iggy. Iggy used to be its own model, so it can be just a thing to replace it with what it was before. And the Poltergeist has been around forever, so it can just be converted. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot needed, although I did tweak Iggy a little bit, which may or may not affect its cost. So the Poltergeist in earlier versions was meant to be a lot weaker. Health reduced to 6. Cost is only 4. I'm not sure that's the best. This again is based off of earlier versions of the model, but I'm considering what it is. It's a big model. It's quite impressive, and I kind of like the idea of making it stronger. Maybe keeping the health at 8 and giving it a cost of what, 7? Maybe 6. Yeah, maybe only 6. Although Flight and Corporeal, pretty nice combination of things. Let's go with 6 for now. Seven to 6. 5, 5, 5, 4. Okay, maybe it is worth making it 7. Ah, what the heck? Let's make it 7. Again, eyeballing things. This is in desperate need of playtesting, so we'll see how that is. So yeah, that's that. Iggy. So Iggy, reduced health to 7, gave a cost of 5, which again may be low, maybe increasing it to 6, especially with the addition of these. But the primitive card only has manipulative, which is pretty good. But one of the things that Iggy used to have, which kind of makes sense for him to have, maybe, is Reckless, where he can deal a point of damage to himself in order to treat an action as if it were a signature action. Now, this is different than the way it was in 3rd edition. 3rd edition, Reckless just gave you an extra action for a point damage. But this would just basically allow him to use Giggling Flames or Little Arsonist as his signature. Which, I don't know. I mean, if that's not what they were going for with this, then maybe just remove that. But I think at the very least, the Giggling Flames should probably increase to 2 damage. Because I don't know if there are that many models that are at 7 cost that only do 1 damage on their attacks. Because yeah, these do 2. I don't know where the cutoff point is. But yeah, most things that are 7 points do... Or no, these only cost 5. Hang on, I might actually leave the damage at 1. Yeah, 5-point models... Well, some of them do 2. Actually, yeah, a lot of them do 2. I guess Iggy's main damage comes from burning. Okay, so maybe... maybe actually... Oops. Actually, that's fine. I added the other stuff because it was from 3rd edition, but I keep needing to remind myself that I need to treat this as something different. I can't just copy and paste from 3rd. I need to figure out what it is that they were trying to do with the 4th edition model and make sure it's in keeping with that. So, yeah, I don't know if it's the strongest of 7 health, so giving a cost of 5 might bump it up to 6, but I don't know. I think I'd bump it up to a 6 if it increased the damage to 2. Otherwise, I think it's more fitting for 5. And, I mean, 5 costs, 7 health. 5 cost 8 health. 5 cost 7 health. So yeah, 5 cost 7 health. Just remove the resupply. Otherwise, kind of keep it as is. And that's fine as is. This one, for the Poltergeist for the cost of 7, I'd worry about increasing the damage to 2 because of this. Main damage output is supposed to be when it's attacking models that have the Paranoia tokens. And 3 damage is quite a lot. um, Hitting an enemy with Paranoia, doing 3 damage, and getting this trigger to discard your target's card, that's pretty scary. So, yeah, I would keep that at that. So, anyway, as far as the rest goes, the only thing that we need to be taking a look at is the Sorrow. So the Sorrow has... Growing Sorrow. Unfortunately, the only thing this does is target an enemy model in order to summon a Sorrow. And you can place this model into base contact with the target. It sucks to get rid of this trigger. I almost wonder if it's worth getting rid of the get rid of the summon, and just put in a damage of 1. Or even not have this as a I don't know. If this was made so that place this model into base contact with the target, was made into the main ability, that would turn it into a tactical, wouldn't it? So you could use it as either move into base contact with an enemy, or move your speed towards a friendly model. I don't know if it needs both. I don't know. At this point, I'm just saying get rid of Growing Sorrow. Yeah, that's probably for the best. Okay, but otherwise, that is it for Whoa. Everything else is fine, as is. So for extra bits, we've got these guys here. So Delirium and the Delirious Thrall are multi-keywords belonging to both Nightmare and Woe. Now, I really struggled with what to do with these, because basically what they do is that the Delirium summons Thralls who run off and just explode. Yeah, they just run off, they make a scheme marker, and then they detonate and do damage. So the Delirium just basically makes scheme marker bombs. So I'm almost thinking that maybe just get rid of these entirely. But I really like the models. It's a cool idea of having these kind of shattered mirror demon things. So I did want to try and figure out a way of keeping these in. I don't really know if it's worth it, though. um, in the end, with the Delirium, I really wanted to find something else to put into here for the House of Mirrors, but I couldn't think of anything that works. The only thing that I could think of really, maybe, is to have something that moves friendly models around. But it already has a lot of movement stuff with Psychotic Influence. Although since this affects enemies, maybe House of Mirrors should be ally only? You can use the Psychotic Influence to move enemies, and then House of Mirrors to move allies. Maybe, yeah. For the moment, just remove House of Allies so that they can't summon Delirious Thralls. Um, as far as these guys go, replace kill this model with once per activation. You know what? I think these still need some work. I'm not entirely sure that I like how this is, but anyway. Um, we increase the cost, increase the health. Yeah, I don't know if I ever actually finished thinking about these. Um, I'm not sure that this is gonna work, but anyway. But no, I think I wouldn't get rid of that actually. In fact, I'm not sure I would change anything about the Delirious Thralls. They can't be summoned, but they're still something that is cheap you can just run up and have basically just turn them into a scheme marker that then explodes. Might reduce the cost to 2. But yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe just get rid of these entirely. Just forget about them. I don't know if there's a way of being able to make them work without completely rewriting what they do. So yeah, maybe it is best just to get rid of them, which is a shame, but eh. But there are these guys. So every faction has a starter set that comes with a handful of models. It's kind of like a fixed crew. There's not really anything else that can be added into these guys. The total cost is about it's less than half of what a regular crew is, like 20-21 points. It's led by a henchman, so you don't have to worry about totems or anything like that. They tend to be fairly simplistic in their rules and how they work, so there's no summoning, there's no fancy things. They're fairly simple and straightforward. They're a great way to kind of teach the game or to learn it if you're just starting out, which is why they're in the starter boxes. They're also really good if you're just wanting a little quick game. If you don't want to play a full 50 soulstone game, you can just pull these guys out. It's a lot quicker and simpler. You only have to worry about 4 models. Yeah, because there's 2 red caps. And there's 1 of each of these. So it's 4 models. You just kind of lock them down, and you get going, and it's all good. So yeah, nothing really needs to be changed about them. They're totally usable as they are. It's a bit of an issue if you're wanting to use them in a proper game. But yeah, these ones are fine as is. So anyway, that is about it. That's these 4 keywords looked at. A couple of them requiring a few more changes than the others, but still nothing too horribly complicated. This is definitely one of the more change-heavy factions, unfortunately. But otherwise, it's totally okay. So anyway, yes, thank you so very much for watching. If you're interested in seeing how I've been modifying some of the models from the other factions, then please check out the other videos in this collection. Otherwise, I think that about wraps things up. So, I will see you all next time.